We've got even more from CES from Florence Ion and Father Robert with Samsung's Foldables and weird Android tech that was at the show. Plus, Twitter shuts down Talon and other third-party apps. The Microsoft Duo is dead, and so much more coming up on All About Android.
Once again, time for the Twit Audience Survey. The annual survey helps us understand you so we can make your listening experience even better. It only takes a couple of minutes, but it sure helps us out a lot. Completely optional, but if you could, please go to twit.tv/survey23. That's twit.tv/survey23. You have till the end of the month, but if you would do me a favor and do it today, I can stop mentioning it. twit.tv/survey23. And thanks in advance.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is All About Android, episode 613, recorded Tuesday, January 17th, 2023, Android at CES 2023. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by ACI Learning. If you love IT Pro, you'll love ACI Learning. ACI Learning offers fully customizable training for your team in formats for all types of learners across audit, cybersecurity, and IT. From entry-level training to putting people on the moon, ACI Learning has got you covered. Visit acilearning.com to learn more. And by CacheFly. CacheFly is the only CDN built for throughput, delivering rich media content up to 10 times faster than traditional delivery methods and 30% faster than other major CDNs. Learn how you can get your first month free at cachefly.com. Welcome to All About Android, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Florence Ion.
And Flo, you and I have the distinct pleasure in Jason and Huyn's absence to welcome, returning to All About Android after nearly a year, almost a year, Father Robert Ballester. How you doing, Father Robert?
I am doing very well. Much nicer, though, not that I get to be sandwiched between the two of you. So this is nice. I enjoy it.
Thank you for holding it down for us in the studio today.
Yeah, I was saying, I have access to all the buttons now, so I was just going to TD this thing. I mean, come on. How hard could it be?
Do it. How hard? Well, Victor behind the ones and twos today would probably question that. But yeah. So, Father Robert, thank you for joining us.
There's no coincidence that I think every angle here, Padre's in it.
I know.
Shocking.
It's almost as if someone adjusted the cameras.
In that one too. So,
as mentioned, Jason is out on vacation. We're not jealous at all. And Huyn is out, and we want to wish her a happy birthday. It's her birthday. She's off celebrating her birthday.
Happy birthday, Huyn!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Huyn! Hey. But we teased it last week, and I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this all week because we've got both Flo and Padre in the house. You were both at CES. We talked a whole bunch of stuff about the major news coming out of CES, but there was so much more to talk about. I wanted to dedicate the whole top part of this show to just about your guys' experience at CES and etc. So we're gonna put off the news. Victor, you get a pass. You don't need to do a news bumper. But
I don't need Flo's hardware check either.
You might. I mean, we can hold on to that for a little bit. But so Flo and Padre, you were both at CES in person. What was it like? I mean, Flo, were you there last year or was this your first year back?
This is my first year back since 2018.
Whoa.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was going to go 2019, but my husband's like, you are 9 months pregnant. So I didn't go for that one. And I have to say, Padre, does this mean that we both got out COVID-free?
We did. That's actually, okay, we're now three tech people who have been on the Twit network, who went to CES and came back complete, not just COVID-free, but cold-free, flu-free, nothing. I got nothing, which is
I was already sick there, so I feel like that protected me. But I've been having these conversations like very transparently with people because I just feel like this stuff is still going on. I'm still wearing a mask. I need data.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, let's not talk about COVID. Let's talk about the show. So, Flo, what was it like to be on the floor again for the first time? Was it triggering? Or did you start hyperventilating, or did it feel like coming home?
I did have a complete breakdown the first night, but thankfully, I found out that actually 5G was not a lie. It is actually pretty awesome because I actually got service in the casinos. So, I was showing my 3-year-old the casinos on video chat, like no issue whatsoever. Great latency and everything.
Right.
But I kind of felt like CES was it definitely was a shell of itself. It was not the CES that I've known before. And even though it was like overwhelming this year as it was in years prior, because it always is, like, it's a massive show. There were 120,000 people in attendance this year, apparently, according to Las Vegas Tourism Board. It still felt like the bones of what it used to be. And I think part of that might just be because of the time that we're in right now in tech. Like, things have really slowed down. And so naturally, like, CES is showing that.
Yeah. So, Father Robert, was that your experience as well, or what did you think being there?
Yeah, mine was a little bit different, just because. So I have gone to every CES that they had, except for the one that was canceled in 2021. I was there in 2020, and I was there last year. And last year was the one where it was really kind of spooky because you could feel that they had just tried to force the show. If you remember the layout of CES, that central hall, which is the place that people come into just as they're coming into the Las Vegas Convention Center, they had a huge, like, quadruple booth that LG had bought, and then LG decided not to show up. So all they did was they roped off where the booth would be, and then they put a bunch of, like, signposts with QR codes for what would be there. So your visit to CES, to LG at CES, was to come up, scan it with your phone, and read about what product would be there. And that was kind of typical for the whole show. Everyone was just sort of like, I don't know why we're here, but we're trying it. This year, there was a bit more of the old CES back. Just like Flo, I know it's nowhere near what it was in 2020 or 2019, but there was some of the excitement. People were actually saying, oh, this is working. I can go to the different booths. I will say that even though the convention center has expanded, because now they have LVCC West, which is a huge place. It's actually, I think, the same size as the old LVCC combined. I spent
the Sands. Sorry, the Sands community, the Sands Convention Center, which was bought by the Venetian. So now the Venetian has its own convention center, just for folks.
Yep. But I spent way more time in suites this year. So that was way more productive.
What you did on your own time, let's keep to yourself out of Robert. This is a family show.
At least, you know what? I got to see Resorts World, so that was nice.
I like that joke works on multiple levels with you, Padre.
It kind of does. Yes. It really does. No, but I used to love walking the show floor. That was my enjoyable time at CES. Just find something unexpected. I didn't do that so much this year. This year, I spent a lot more time in prep to find the companies I actually wanted to speak with, and then I set appointments up in their suites so that it was a safer environment, and it also meant that I didn't have to do, like, the carnival barking type stuff.
Yeah, well, it's actually funny that you say that, because that's a great segue into what I wanted to talk about this week on the show this week, because last week we talked about all the Google's presence there and all the other news and things like that that are coming out of it. But, like, part of my love of CES is the weird stuff and the prototypes and the kind of odd stuff. And I don't know, you were both there, and Flo, you were doing your work for Gizmodo. Like, did you feel as if it felt to me like this was I don't want to say a safer show, but there wasn't as much crazy stuff on the floor as feel like in previous years?
Yes. I do believe that to be true. For instance, I know that we wanted to kind of like go over some of the foldable displays that Samsung had showed off on the show floor. But the thing to note about that is many of those displays were actually announced at last CES. But because most of the press did not go to last CES, this was kind of like a retrotting. Maybe not even that. It was like, let us remind you what we've actually been working on this entire time, and which is exciting. But, like, because we're not there yet, it was a tease of a show.
It was.
Well, it was. That's why it was funny. Like, specifically the Samsung Foldables. Like, last week we did the show, and, like, Jason did the whole rundown of the show and everything. And then, like, afterwards, I'm like, oh, we didn't even talk about the Samsung Foldables. And part of it to that point is that, like, maybe because they weren't, like, totally brand new, but, like, they built on the announcement from last year. At least they were, like, prototypes in hand, and you could see how it worked and all that sort of stuff. So, Flo, did you get to look at them, or what were they like?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to see them in person. That was the other thing about this year, is that it just felt like I could just see what I could see. Like, usually I'm
Sure.
I'm a lot more like, let's do this. But this year it was like, let's just, this is our first convention back. So let's take it day by day. And which is kind of a bummer because I would have loved to see some of the prototypes that Samsung was showing privately at its booth. So what they were doing is, my understanding is they were inviting some media to come kind of look behind the wall with the untethered prototypes. One of the more interesting things is that Samsung, now this isn't an Android thing, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it. They have this Flex hybrid screen, which includes both folding and sliding. And that's something that they're bringing to some of the, I'm going to say, phone displays that they're working on as well. And it's very interesting to kind of see what Samsung is cooking up to try and make into a device. And I think one of the themes was they're right now trying to figure out like which ways to fold the device that makes the most sense for you to carry in your pocket.
Right.
So for instance, the Samsung Flex S, it looks like this giant, long panorama tablet, but what it actually is a more smaller handheld phone so that it's small in your hand, but then when you unravel it, it's actually like the length of a really big smartphone that you would watch in a landscape mode sort of situation.
And it's got that triple hinge, like almost folds like
it's like an old map. It's like an old school map.
like a map. That's what it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is it looks like a trip. So I gotta, and that's the one that you look at it and you worry about those fold points.
Yeah.
Right. Like the two, there's a point where the display folds to the left and then it folds within itself. And like you just see it flexing and you can see the stress on that hinge that's happening there, but it looks really neat. I don't know.
I mean, that was the thing. When I saw the Samsung booth, I was really big into the Flex Hybrid. I love that idea of starting with like a 10.4 inch screen and then unfolding and flexing so that you get a 16 by 9, 12 inch screen. I can see a lot of uses for that. And I feel like that product does a better job of controlling the forces that are going to be exerted on the screen. Because we know from the disastrous first release of foldable phones, that's huge. That makes all the difference. Both the Flex S and the Flex, what was the other one? The
G.
Yeah, the G. Very cool technology, but at the same time, like you, Ron, I'm looking at that going, how many times can I flex that before I start to see deformation? Not even breaking the screen, but if you reduce the quality or the accuracy of the screen in that location after 1,000 flexes, I'm still not into that. I'm still not going to buy it.
Yeah.
I don't know. My Fold 4 is doing perfectly fine. I'm just saying.
They stress test it for however many millions of folds, right?
It's like that IKEA chair demo where it just keeps going and going and going.
Well, you talked about them trotting out old technology. At the LG booth, one of their big draws was that big 50-inch scroll 8K screen.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, but that was from CES 2020. So that was, it's kind of weird that they're trotting that out in 2023.
Remember this?
Which part? Oh, yeah.
As in
yeah.
if they
that's
were
what they're
saying,
saying.
remember this. Yes. Another like foldable technology that I thought is probably going to come sooner than later is the Flex in and out. And what that is basically the same thing as the Fold that it is right now, except instead of closing like a book, it also opens backwards so that you have like a double-sided smartphone.
Gives you more flexibility, so to speak.
Yes, but you know what it also does is it exposes that sort of, because it's a PLED, right? Or PMLED, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
It exposes it to the elements. And the thing about that inside display is it's very soft, which means like any keys go against it.
I was just going to say the pocket. Oh, that's the
Yeah.
worst. The little nicks that you get from keys in the pocket at the same time. Yeah. Oh, that's not good. But they not everything was a retread though. There were two prototypes that got debuted this year at Samsung, right? It was the Flex Slidable Solo and the Slidable Duet, which was the slidable, the one where it goes from a, what was it? The Flex Slidable Solo is a 14-inch panel that then expands out to a 17.3-inch wide display in one slab. Right. And then the Duet is basically the same thing, except that it instead of the Solo, it expands out to one side, and the Duet, it expands out both sides.
Yeah.
Which is wacky.
I think It is wacky, but I think that they were also sort of testing it to see what people's reactions are to it. Because I think that would ultimately decide where they're going to go with that. I mean, I could see like Samsung doing this to one of its laptops.
Right.
Sure.
You know,
That's what I want to see.
On the go.
I mean, it's interesting on a phone, but like you said, I put a phone in my pocket with keys and such, and I'm always worried about that display, especially if I've got displays on both sides. If you give me a laptop like this that has flex displays that I can pull out on either side that are super
cool.
thin and super light, of course I'm going to go for that. And not only that, when I stow them, they're protected. That's an application I'd actually like to see.
It seems like a lot of this Samsung stuff was, mentioned in the hybrid one. It was mentioned in the context of future laptop displays or, smartphones that also are tablets or tablets that can go bigger or smaller. But Flo, when we were talking about planning the show, when I was like, oh, what do you want to talk about? You said that we had to talk about that Lenovo tablet. So what's the story with that one?
Yeah, all right. So the Lenovo Tab Extreme, it is a really giant Android tablet. It's 14.5 inches. And when it's paired with its keyboard folio case, it basically resembles like a Lenovo Chromebook of sorts. I would even say like a high-end Lenovo Duet, if anybody out there has used a Chromebook Duet. The interesting thing about this is that it has the MediaTek Dimensity 9000 chip, which is their new flagship. And naturally, excuse me. Often I don't speak of MediaTek because their chips are very much like of the affordable base, but I feel like in this situation, it's a good compromise to sort of like keep the price somewhere that it's not totally exorbitant. At the same time, let's see, what is this? It is expensive. It is expensive. It's expensive for an Android 13 tablet. You have to really want to buy into it. But because of all the improvements that like Google has made to the Android software, it feels like a much more fluid experience. Even at one point when I was using it, I kind of like said something to one of the attendants. I'm like, are you sure this doesn't run Chrome OS? Because I just feel like this should just run Chrome OS. Like this is just Android. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, the quality is quite nice. I love the screen. That's a 120 hertz refresh screen, which I'm just falling for those now.
$1,200. Sorry,
yeah,
to interject.
It's a little on the pricey side, especially for a device that for that price I'd probably want a full laptop rather than just a tablet.
Or an iPad Pro. I'm sorry to say it, everyone.
Yeah,
sorry.
But like you, I was a little miffed that it wasn't doing vanilla Android. I mean, at this point, give me the hardware that's beautiful and give me software that I know is going to be continued to be upgraded. I'm not going to. I don't want a tablet.
I got an argument against this.
Oh boy,
Sorry.
Here we go.
You don't like vanilla.
I have an argument against this. Vanilla is not the same it used to be like back in the Nexus days. Vanilla now just means that like a manufacturer needs to do something to it. The reason that the Z Fold 4, for instance, is such a great experience is because Samsung went in and it tweaked it so that it works with this particular form factor. Lenovo, admittedly, because they come from the PC game, they are known to bundle things that nobody's really asking for because that's how that's the game.
That's their world.
But at the same time, they do some things to the software to kind of like make it a more fluid tablet experience, which, they have their own precision pen. For instance, they have a stylus. So obviously like they kind of need to tune the software to work with that specifically. So I can see where it would be beneficial, but you just have to be very choosy in the manufacturer that you go with. And I think Samsung is a little more afraid of pissing people off.
It's just, if I'm going to spend that much money on something, I want to make sure that it's going to be upgraded, kept up to date past the interest of the company. So at some point, if Lenovo or Samsung want to orphan their products, they're just going to stop building the modified Android experience for them. If it's vanilla, yeah, I know sometimes I want to mod it myself, but I can guarantee I can continue to upgrade that to the limits of the hardware.
Yeah, but that's the not to date you, Padre, but that's the old time
I know
geek in you, and I'm the same way. I was just recently talking about it but like the direction of consumer electronics is not in is not in that direction anymore. The costs of stuff have come down to the point where this stuff becomes disposable after 3 to 5 years, right? You just get a new one.
I mean, my primary Android phone is 6 years old. I'm still
Which one are you using?
I've got a OnePlus 5.
Wow.
I know, right? I tested newer ones, but that's my daily driver. It's still working incredibly well. It does everything I need it to do.
Fascinating.
But because it's OnePlus and they would prefer me to update to their 7, it's stuck on Android 11. It will never move from that point. Yeah.
Not even, there's no like Lineage OS or something that you can.
Nada. Zip.
Oh, jeez.
But that's okay. Yeah. So, again.
But see, this is why.
I see what you're saying. I understand that I'm kind of old school for liking that. But
I totally agree with you. But it's my frustration because it gets harder and harder to have an argument against iPad OS in this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like, okay, Google's going to come out with a Pixel tablet this year. Cool. But everybody's already kind of using, an ultra powerful like iPad Pro is not going to be interested in whatever is coming out from the Android side of things because
Right, but it's the same thing. That's the market for the Pixel tablet isn't to steal iPad Pro people over. It's to say, okay, you who is using a Pixel phone or a Samsung phone, instead of getting an iPad Pro, get one that keeps you on our side of the field.
Yeah.
If like that's like I don't think the strategy is to convert existing iPad Pro users. It's to give Android users another device to buy and a way to keep them from even glancing over what the iPad Pro can do.
But do you need another device?
Sorry.
But do you need to look at all those devices in front of you? Do you need those?
I don't, but I like them.
Exactly.
They're shiny.
So I was going to say,
exactly.
They make me happy.
I have an ideal daily carry as an Android user. If I could just like manifest.
And then we'll move on.
Okay.
But
yeah. So it would be the Z Fold 4. So I have like my phone, tablet, and then it would be a Chromebook on top of that because of the way that like everything just works seamlessly between Chromebook and Android. And then I would just have a desktop at home.
Why wouldn't you? For me, I would add to that. The dream would be like a functional Samsung DeX or kind of thing like that. That is the desktop that all that plugs into and just works. But Flo, that is a great segue because Father Robert, I think you've got a couple of Chromebooks there.
I might have one or two.
All right, so you got a bag of swag from CES. What did you take home?
I know, right? Padre, you're so good at that.
It's kind of my deal.
Who can say no to him? Look at him. I would take whatever you want from the suite.
I brought nothing home, by the way. I brought one thing I brought home was a plushie from the OnePlus booth. And I brought it home because, I felt bad for leaving my child. So
this is about 5% of the stuff that I brought home from CES. This is just the Android compatible gear.
Okay.
Wow.
All
right. Well, let's go through it quickly. So
let's run it through quickly. So this one, if you go to the overhead, this is something that Flo might like. This is the Spin 7. The Chromebook Spin 714 from Acer. This is your standard convertible tablet. Really, this is actually one of the first premium Chromebooks that I've really, really liked. Most of them have put me off in one way or another, but this was the unit that I used all through CES. It was light enough to carry. It had more than all-show battery life. It connected with everything I needed. It had integrated Ethernet. It was just a really nice device. And of course, you can use it like a tablet if you want to. So pretty typical convertible Chromebook experience. Now this one, I think, Flo, you took a look at this, right? This is the Chromebook, the gaming Chromebook.
I have it right here. Yes, I actually just finished writing my review last week. It should be up soon. Cloud gaming, the gaming edition Chromebook.
Exactly. Now the screen on this thing is magnificent. It's it's a 2560 by 1600. It's 120 hertz refresh. And it's an IPS screen, so it is just gorgeous. The audio, actually better than the audio on my Acer gaming notebook here running Windows. Keyboard, okay, it's a pretty good touch, but like Flo said, the primary way you game with this is through cloud gaming. So you can use either Amazon services or NVIDIA services. I played a few of the games I enjoyed, and they worked just fine, but I'm not big into Twitch gaming. I like strategy games, and those games were great. Flo, did you like it? I mean, were you happy with it?
So my review hasn't published yet, but I'm going to tell you two things. I did try. First of all, the battery life, not good.
No.
It's not. It's not as long as they promise, which is up to 9 hours.
But they're trying something new. It's always to be expected.
Yeah.
With a huge screen
sure.
like that, that's just going to suck power. I mean, come on, let's be honest.
Anyways. Okay.
That's also true. And then the second thing is I actually tried the Steam beta on it. So I actually installed local games, and I installed some of the latest AAA games.
There you go.
I did it just to, there is an integrated graphics card. This is not a gaming laptop. Oh my God, I have never seen Chrome hurt so bad before.
Wow.
It just, what it does, it just shuts off and restarts. It goes, and just shuts off.
You
and
actually
restarts.
killed it.
I did. I killed it a couple times.
What were you playing? What were you playing that overloaded?
Far Cry 5. I tried to play Far Cry 5.
That's the difference. I don't do those FPSs. I think if I was more Twitch
I don't either,
gaming,
but it's my job to benchmark these things. So had to go into it. I did play Half-Life 2 on it, which was a trip.
Okay.
All right.
I could see that.
Natively.
I could see that.
Locally stored.
But, you know, for the type of gaming that I do, I'm very attracted to a type of gaming machine that requires someone else to upgrade their machine rather than me. So that's kind of cool. Something else I do want to show you is this. I ran into this at PepCon. This is the new Synology series of NASs. This one's the 723 Plus. Now, the nice thing about this is it's got all the regular stuff that you expect from Synology. It's super fast. It's using a dual-core Ryzen 1600 series CPU, so plenty of power to do transcoding for Plex and such. But not only does it have the 2 drive bays, underneath, I love the fact that they made this easy to access, I've got 2 M.2 bays. So I could put in some super speedy NVMe drives and just make this thing scream. They also added a 10 gig interface. So if I wanted to make this the backbone of my network, I can put a 10 gigabit Ethernet module in here, and I could actually edit from this box directly to my computer. But the real reason why I think that Android people would like this is you can run the Synology DSM suites that basically replace every single Google Cloud application. Photos, documents, storage, everything. But you do it in your local device. So it's like having your own cloud. You don't have to depend on an external third-party service. It's all stored in your home. And I got to tell you, Synology does this better than anybody else. I'm kind of looking forward to this. Do either of you have a Synology NAS?
I do not.
No.
Do you?
We're going to have to fix that.
No, I have. We have a Plex server running off of a PC upstairs, a home media server of that variety.
I'm going to do some of the Padre magic, and we're going to make sure that you get some. Because seriously, once you start playing with the Android apps for a Synology NAS, it gets really hard not to use it all the time.
I used to have a Plex media server before the kids and everything, and now I'm completely
For the kids.
I'm completely casting, streaming dependent. I have no local media anymore. I don't download any shows anymore. I don't download any movies. I don't do it it's all so I have no need for a NAS. But they're cool, and it flows similar to your this is my ideal hardware setup. Someday I want to have the ideal, have the NAS and have everything all working. But I don't have the time, but I also don't have the need anymore.
When they go to high school, Ron, they won't need you anymore. Except for rides. So then you'll have time. Something
that you might like about all of those is you can sync them with any cloud service. So if you use OneDrive or Dropbox or Google Drive, it will automatically sync a copy on your local array.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Exactly. So you're always guaranteed to have access to it, even if you lose internet connectivity. The other thing is when you change here, it will change it online. So it's a really nice way to get yourself some added storage. Now, I don't know if either of you like storage, like security, but I got this little thing. This is from Kingston. This is their Iron Key Vault. Now, the nice thing about this is it's an external SSD, so crazy fast storage. This one's a 1 terabyte version, but I'm also a security nut. I'm an enterprise security nut. And so it's got this. There's actually an operating system on this that boots up and it does a self-test to look for malware and make sure that there's nothing wrong with the actual device. And then once you get in, you can assign permissions based on a code that you have to put in. So for me, Now, actually, if you zoom in on this, Victor, you can see that the keypad has actually been randomized. They thought of little details like this so that if someone's watching you punch in your code,
oh, wow, that's cool.
You're right. It won't be the same. So if they just copy the motions of your finger, it won't match up the next time this thing
different
boots
every
up.
time. Oh, that's
Exactly.
genius. That's very cool.
I mean, it's super simple detail, but it totally makes sense. What is it? 2 is 4. That's okay. No, that's fine. There we go. Now, the other cool thing about this is everything is encrypted. So even if someone were to steal this device from you, and there's an encryption engine, so you can get a full throughput. Even if someone were to steal this from you, they wouldn't be able to get in. They'd have to have the password. And you can set it so that if they put in the password wrong, say 10 times, it will just wipe the drive.
Oh, jeez.
Which is excellent. And I can also do per user, so I can hand it to somebody and they only have certain access to certain parts of the device. And this is plugged into my Windows box right now, but this works just fine on Android. If I plug it into my Android device, it also asks me for the passcode, and then it mounts as an Android volume.
Cool.
So again, yeah, I'm really big on Kingston for their security products, because it's not just fancy USB drives. They've actually integrated the security into the silicon, which means you can't bypass it. Yeah, that's, again, I'm an enterprise geek. I don't know.
And didn't you have something? Didn't you have something that could keep us warm?
I did, and actually, I'm wearing it right now.
Wearables.
It is a wearable, and I did use this extensively. If you look at the overhead, this is the app that's connected right now to the vest that I'm wearing, and this is from.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
This is from Field Shear. And the nice thing about this is I can control exactly how warm. Oh my God.
So jealous.
And it gets warm fast.
I want to wear this.
It gets warm
wow.
so quickly. I use this on the way from CES to San Francisco. I was driving my father's Prius, and you know hypermiling?
No.
You're basically just trying to get the highest miles per gallon that you can get over a trip. Well, I was getting about 49 over to 48 miles per gallon. And then I decided, well, if I shut off everything in the cabin, no heater.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no
heater.
heat.
Going.
And turning off the heater actually gave me 5 more miles per gallon. So I was just wearing this. It was 30 degrees in my cabin, but I was wearing this and I was fine. I was toasty.
That's hysterical. That's too funny.
So if you wanna get a really good mileage on your hybrid, you have to get one of these things.
So how is that connected to the vest? Is it through Bluetooth LE?
Yeah,
or
it's just Bluetooth LE.
Yeah.
So there's a little it looks like a button on the side, and you just push it. It pairs, so you have a secure connection. And then this tells me everything from what temperature it's currently set for to what my battery condition is. And it's got enough battery in here for, at least for 10 hours, because that's how much I used it for the trip from Las Vegas to San Francisco.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's
so
actually
cool.
a really nice piece of tech. And I used this at CES because I was in a short sleeve shirt the entire time, and outside it was quite cold.
Wow.
Inside, super hot.
All right.
Yep.
Well, that's quite a good haul. So Flo, why don't you round us out with with a little bit of lightning round with some of the cool weird stuff that you saw. So tell me about the Primas Portal.
All right, the Primas Portal. Guess what? All that cloud gaming, those handhelds that are coming out, they're actually running Android. Remember, the Nintendo Switch technically runs Android. It's just Nintendo's version. Well, this Primas Portal looks like a Nintendo Switch, and it lets you play games from the Play Store, or I'm assuming any cloud games. And one of the things that's interesting is apparently it lets you do VR. I didn't get to try this one. My editor did. But from, what we're seeing, I feel like there's going to be more of these coming out this year. Lenovo's E Ink, they have an E Ink laptop that.
Wait, so like a laptop that's like basically like a Kindle?
Actually, so I'm sorry, not a laptop. They have an E Ink tablet that I am escaping the name of right now, but basically it runs Android, which was something that Lenovo told me. We have on screen for those watching the video feed is actually the ThinkBook Plus.
That's E Ink. That's
the ThinkBook Plus twist, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
is that what
and
it
then
is?
The Lenovo Ink tablet is called Lenovo Smart Paper. And that is the one that got people very excited because we're kind of really trying to go back to pen and paper, but digitally. And so I was told by Lenovo folks, hey, by the way, this runs Android, which is always an interesting tidbit. And because of that, you can actually sideload apps onto it.
Ooh,
so
cool.
if you can get an APK, you could sideload that into the Ink. I did get to see some Wear OS watches, which was kind of cool because all we talk about these days are Samsung and Pixel Watch. Yep. So the Nowatch, not a Wear OS watch, but definitely something that caught my eye, very beautiful. It uses Philips's electrodermal activity biosensing technology to basically aggregate all the data that your other smartwatches do. But the difference is that there is no display on the actual watch. Instead, you have these interchangeable stone faceplates. They're made of real stone.
Wait, what?
I
okay, you got to explain this to me,
several times
Flo.
over.
Am I staring at a stone on a wrist?
Yes, this is a stone. And then underneath the stone is a bunch of sensors that tracks your data.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
And then you change out the stone based on what you're wearing. So, and I was told that they were all sustainably mined stones. That's how you would
Of course, because as they would. Right? Yep.
As you would. The Nowatch is actually available now for $500 with each of the. Yeah, it is a very niche product.
I mean, for $500, I kind of want a screen.
I did see the app, which I didn't have. I didn't publish any pictures of them, but they have a very cool app with like cool visualizations. But
cool,
it's obviously like a third-party thing. So, but I like the concept of not, what are my stats today? How much, how did my sleep, my nap, what kind of, stats did I get from my nap today? Like, it's supposed to help with that. The other watch that I got to look at was the Fossil Gen 6 Hybrid Wellness Edition. And this one is cool because it's based on the Wear OS watches that Fossil makes already, the Gen 6. But the difference is that these have e-ink in the background. So they have a manual watch face for those of us who still love watches and, the old ways. Mechanical watch face, I should say. And then behind it is an e-ink screen that you can customize to your heart's delight. You could put like an e-ink wallpaper if you wanted to. You can choose which complications show on there, or you can choose from Fossil's own watch faces that they provide for you. The thing that I found very interesting about this, though, is that in my meeting with Fossil, they told me that most of their e-ink watch wearers are actually iPhone users who want something that isn't the Apple Watch. And so even though the watch is technically Wear OS based, because Google built in that iOS integration into the software, you can still allow for iOS users to get in there and get the data from it. The reason we don't have that on Pixel and Samsung watches is because they chose not to do that. They chose to keep things exclusive, and you can do like different things now with that exclusivity between, a watch and like a certain phone. But just in this case, it's kind of an agnostic way to get a smartwatch, and you get something more traditional.
I kind of like the analog thing.
I love it.
Doing it for me, really.
I love it. Now, I'm going to be honest. I had a first gen hybrid watch from Fossil. It didn't have the screen behind it, but I just love the simplicity of it. And so I've asked Fossil for a review unit. So hopefully I can get my hands on one of these and try it out. The last watch that I saw is a major shout out to our All About Android fam. It is, remember guys, eBuyNow took over the Moto Watch IP.
eBuyNow.
Yep. And they've made the most interesting names ever.
I know. Another fun fact, by the way, they're based in Vancouver.
Oh, wait, what?
Fascinating.
Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Now, this is technically, yes, a Motorola watch, but it's not made by Moto or Lenovo. It is made by eBuyNow. And what they're trying to do is have this like affordable set of smartwatches that run Wear OS. They are also platform agnostic. So if you wanted to use this on an iPhone, you could get the app that corresponds with it. What I found very compelling about them, though, is that the Moto Watch 100 in particular, they announced at CES that it would have fall detection. And so it's one of the cheapest smartwatches right now that has that ability. So if you have a friend or family member that like you want to, help keep watch on from afar, you could theoretically buy them this $100 watch, and it would let you essentially caretake remotely.
Not
which
bad,
is-
actually. $100 for a fall sensor capable watch. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty
It
cool.
runs
Yeah.
Wear OS apps, so it's in the Android ecosystem. But
I mean, it's not
also works on
quite
iPhone.
got the usefulness of a smart rock on your wrist, but I could see people liking this.
Excuse me, a sustainably sourced.
Oh, I'm sorry. A
smart rock.
sustainably sourced smart rock. That's
Okay. The last sort of bits. I'm going to give you an anecdote about this next one, which is Matter was obviously majorly on display at CES. What Matter is, it's a new protocol that is coming to the Internet of Things, to the smart home. It uses Thread and Bluetooth LE and partially Wi-Fi to tell what devices are on the network and help them all like talk to each other. It is going to simplify a lot of things in the smart home. The best demo that I had of it though was one that I did not even launch
coming.
off myself. Yeah, I didn't even. Well, I didn't even. I can only think of the Romanian word right now. I walked by the Nano Leaf booth, and my phone buzzed in my pocket, and I'm like, "What is going on? Who is bothering me? I'm in a meeting," and it was the Nano Leaf booth trying to pair with my Pixel device using Matter, and I was like, "It's supposed to be that easy." And
Interesting.
listeners,
Wow.
it was.
Wow.
It was kind of a
Cool.
nice, like, that's right. That's how it's supposed to work. I just took a screenshot, and I felt like
All right,
that
so
was
so
worth the
stay
trip.
tuned for the future of the smart home with Matter. That's good. I feel like that's good to hear that it was on display in massive ways, because if it's going to get adopted, it has to be. It's got to be those OEMs and those manufacturers have to be using it, right? So that's great to see. So.
Well, and I actually got to sit down with the CTA, which is the connectivity, the CSA, the Connectivity Standards Alliance, and all the big players are on it. So that is definitely something that you should be building your smart home around this year. Lastly,
So you
we got this one. Yes,
Flo, you've been on a journey with Android Auto for the past year. I feel like, right?
Yes, I have.
So do you
I
feel
have.
like you've turned a corner with Android Auto after this next one, or I'm curious.
the tone of voice would suggest not.
No, I have turned a corner. The new Android Auto is, I think it's called Cool Walk. It is awesome. It is faster. It's more responsive. It's easier to navigate one-handed while you're driving the car. And what we got to see at CES was what they're going to do in future EV cars that are adopting what they're calling Google Automotive Services. Yes.
Yep.
So, they just, we're going to have HD maps. We're going to have more integration with the HVAC. It's all part of this like ploy for every ecosystem to just be natively in the car. And what I got out of it is I got to sit inside a brand new Volvo, the first one in the US that they had on display.
Cool.
So whatever this model was from Sweden, I'm assuming
Was it
it was
neat?
made in Sweden. I had no idea how to get out of it. the way they're doing like the door handles now, it's like, how do I get out of here? Like everyone is trying to make it all like sci-fi-ish. I don't like
Amazing
it.
operating system for the entertainment system. I couldn't get out of the car. I had to crawl to the back.
Get out of the car.
It's a good way to keep you in the car. That's
Exactly.
great. So, excellent. All right. Well, that is a great trip down memory lane for CES. Thank you both for the recaps. I know there was probably so much more we didn't touch on, but it's a massive show and we can't do it. But we're going to close the book on CES, at least not all about Android, until next year. And we're going to talk a little bit about non-CES hardware in a moment. But first, we're going to thank our first sponsor of the evening, because this episode of All About Android is brought to you by ACI Learning. And IT Pro brings you engaging and entertaining IT training, and now IT Pro is part of ACI Learning. Together, IT Pro and ACI Learning are expanding their production capabilities, bringing you the content and learning style you need at any stage in your development. Whether you want individual training for yourself or you want to train your whole team, ACI Learning and IT Pro have you covered. Join over 227,000 members of the IT Pro learning community with access to 6,800 hours of content, and new content is added daily. Get team training for CompTIA, Microsoft IT training, Cisco training, Linux training, Apple training, security, cloud, and more. One of the most widely recognized beginner certifications is the CompTIA A+. CompTIA courses from IT Pro and ACI Learning make it easy to level up your employees who have vested interest in cybersecurity. The most popular certifications offered by ACI Learning include CISSP, AWS, ISACA, and CCNA. Other in-demand tech skills and certification courses offered are Tech Support Specialist, Computer User Support Specialist, Information Security Analyst, and much more. Certifications show more than proving a skill set. They let your customers see that you are committed to keeping your organization up to date. And ACI Learning and IT Pro are with you every step of the way. With an IT Pro business plan, ACI Learning offers fully customizable training for your team. You can track your team's results, manage your seats, assign and unassigned team members, and access monthly usage reports and see metrics like logins, viewing time, tracks completed, and more. It makes it easy to manage your team by managing subsets of users or teams, by providing them with customized assignments, monitoring progress, and reporting on usage of the platform. And assignments can be full courses or individual episodes within courses. And you get full access to advanced reporting, give you immediate insight into your team's viewing patterns and progress over any period of time with visual reports. Respected companies and government agencies around the globe turn to IT Pro and ACI Learning year after year to help them maintain their competitive edge. Supporting organizations across audit, IT, and cybersecurity readiness, ACI Learning keeps you and your team at the top of your game. So from entry-level training to putting people on the moon, ACI Learning has got you covered. Maintain your company's competitive edge with ACI Learning and visit acilearning.com. That's acilearning.com. And we thank them for keeping us well-trained and for being awesome and sponsoring this episode of All About Android. Thank you, ACI Learning and IT Pro. You got us covered. Appreciate it. And with that, we will get to some hardware. All right, so Flo, tell us what's going on in Microsoft land with the Surface Duo.
You know, I had a hard time believing it myself, but apparently Microsoft has completely scrapped plans for a Surface Duo 3 because apparently the first two generations didn't sell so well.
Yeah.
I feel like that, I feel like we've been excited about the Surface Duo because of like that Surface Duo 2. Everyone liked the form factor.
Yeah,
right. Like,
of course,
like the little the book style and all stuff like that. It captured so many, so much of our imagination, but it just didn't take, huh?
No, it didn't take at all. And you know, I think this is an opportunity. First of all, I'm still confused, like why Microsoft, why Microsoft is kind of still keeping this alive. To be quite frank, because the first two. It resonated with folks who like really wanted this, but it didn't really resonate with consumers the way that the Samsung devices are. And so I do agree with some of the leaks that are, or the reports, the speculation that Microsoft is working on something with a much more traditional folding screen versus like the two side-by-side screens. I mean, there were people who were fans of the Duo, but
that part, this is the first time Microsoft has done this. I mean, go back at the start of the iPad, they had the Courier, which a few of us actually got to take a look at. It looked really good. It was an innovative product, and it would have placed them at a different place than Apple in the tablet market. But they didn't get enough from their feedback groups, and so they scrapped it. And they had already manufactured a number of units. So, you know, I always, every time something like this happens at Microsoft, I'm always wondering if someone got hired or fired or moved into a different position, and then the successor just decided, hey, I'm going to kill every project that was from this person. Because that's what happens at studios all the time. But, you know, this was a cool product. I was really looking forward to trying it out. And a pivot, a 180-degree pivot, it'll still be interesting, but it's not exactly what I wanted.
It's a bummer because I like I mean, we've talked about a lot. I like different things on the marketplace, right? Like, and Flo, like, I think you summed it up great, which is, they see what's going on at Samsung and like, we'll just do that. And that just adds sameness and boringness, right? And so I don't know why the Duo 2 didn't work. Probably the price point had something to do.
Yeah,
it wasn't cheap.
Yeah, we know why.
Well, and it wasn't a good phone. That was like the main problem. See, Samsung makes phones. Windows makes work machines, and so they made this a work machine instead of something that was much more handheld. But the good news is, if you have one laying around, apparently the WOA project is letting you dual boot Windows 11 and Android on one.
Oh, nice.
So,
yep. And I tell you what, Microsoft pays a lot of money to product place those Surface tablets. I mean, the entire hospital on Grey's Anatomy is run on Surface tablets, right? So like
the entire CW, every single show on the CW.
Right.
Tom Brady has broken, I think, 4 of them already on primetime NFL. So,
but you got to wonder why they didn't include the Surface, slide the Surface Duo into a couple episodes of Grey's Anatomy there. But it's a bummer. So, I mean, Victor, I don't want to push your skills on and what you got to do there on the TD, but hearing the funeral music for the Surface Duo 3, the Surface Duo would be appropriate at this point.
It's got to find the button. Yeah.
But I'm hopeful of what Microsoft is able to. There it is. So,
ooh, it's the really slow one.
It really draws it out. I like that.
21 screen salute.
Yep. So pour one out for the Microsoft Surface Duo. Hopefully we'll see whatever they come up with in their foldable screen design is different than everything else out there in the marketplace. So,
every time a major manufacturer kills a product like this that has already had a small production run, I always wonder what happens to those units. They don't just scrap them.
Yeah.
Could we get a hold of them?
I know, right? I want one.
It's kind of like how when you see the pictures of kids in Africa and they're running around in T-shirts of the World Series of the team that lost, right? The printed T-shirts that couldn't get sold, right? So yeah, so in some developing nation, they're all using these devices, right?
So you've heard it from Ron. There's going to be some kids running around in Africa with the Surface Duos. It'll be fantastic. They're gonna have dual screens and everything.
Well, moving on from the Surface Duo and coming off of CES, who's looking for a Walkman? Because if you are, Sony might have the answer that you're looking for. So for you, Flo, I might need to explain this to you, for you youngins out there in the audience.
Wow.
You don't need to explain it to me. Thank you very much. One of my major memories in life is being 6 years old, listening to Annie Lennox's album on cassette on a Walkman sports player I found that my mom was using to work out with, and just like sitting on my bed and emoting. So it was a part of my life. Thank you.
Right. So the Walkman was the immensely popular handheld cassette player that Sony manufactured from, I feel like from the 70s into the 80s. Did it come in the 80s, but well into the 90s. We all had the sport ones, like you mentioned, Flo, that were the yellow with the gray tab that flipped it over to lock it in place. And Walkman was a fixture on many teenagers all through the 90s. And I was delighted when I saw Ron Amadeo over on Ars Technica writing about the new Sony Walkman that looks great and is running Android 12. How about that?
I mean, are they just going for the retro feels, or do you think this might actually become popular?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, they've been making Android powered Walkmans since 2012, so it's not like this is a new idea of it, but they rolled out new models, right? And it looks nice. I mean, look at it. It looks cool. It's got a 3.6 inch touchscreen 1280 by 720 LCD screen on it. It's got 32 gig of storage, supports Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It says it's got longer battery life, but it's
than the original Walkman.
Yeah, it's promising 36 hours of 44.1 kilohertz FLAC playback, up to 32 hours of 96 kilohertz FLAC high resolution audio playback.
Okay,
pretty
so
good.
I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask the question that I think should be the table stakes here. Why wouldn't people just use their phone to do the exact same thing?
High fidelity, Padre.
Oh, that's
high
right.
fidelity.
I forgot.
Come on, you're not going to put all those files on your phone.
Now,
I
if Sony had made this and it also played cassette tapes, okay, then I'd probably want one. But right now, it's just like a really expensive phone that doesn't do the phone part.
I have an old mini disc player, Padre.
I got one of those too.
never get rid of that.
I love mini discs. I miss
Never get
mini
rid of it.
discs.
So, well, anyway, so looking at this, it's the whole device is the size of a deck of cards, which is not big, right?
No,
so, Padre, we talk about that, like talk about a small, kind of device that you want to take on. I don't know. I feel like there's a niche audience that would want this, and it's good that they've got a cool looking, solid piece of hardware that can do it. So,
I mean, it could bring you back to the 80s watching those old huge films like Pretty in Pink or, what's the one with Kevin Bacon? Footloose.
Footloose.
Where the hero takes out their mixtape and heroically slams it into a Walkman and slams it shut, and then the world changes. So, maybe it's time for that again.
All right. Well, so moving on from that, Flo, while we've all been busy recovering from CES, there were some leaks on the Samsung side of the world.
Well, it's not even just leaks, right? Because there's an event happening soon, which I will be there, and that's coming up next month. So
it's going to be we talked about that last week. It's going to be in San Francisco, right?
That's right. And so that's good news for anybody who's shopping for a Samsung flagship and wants like the latest and greatest. But what's been interesting is just the leaks that are coming out. And I think one of them that has received the most buzz is the Galaxy S23. Not only has the camera lenses on the backside sort of found their positions, but we're also speculating that it's going to come with a 200 megapixel sensor on the ultra variant, because usually what Samsung does is they have 3 tiers. They have like the base S tier, the plus S tier, and then they have the ultra S tier, which is like the big kahuna. And so we've all just kind of been studying these leaks to see what's gonna. I have to say though, whatever I have seen doesn't show a whole like major difference from the Galaxy S22. It still looks a little iPhone-y.
It does
A little bit.
I have a question.
Okay.
So I've been out of the Android market for a while, but how did we get to S23? I have an S2 and an S4.
3, 4, 5, 6,
I'm surprised
7,
those aren't
8,
your daily
9,
drivers.
10.
How many did I miss?
10 and then went 21, 22.
Okay. So there was a gap.
22.
I didn't miss
So
like a whole 10 phones.
No.
They jumped to align with the year of release, right? Flo?
Got
That's
it.
the
Okay.
paradigm?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that maybe I had
So-
fallen asleep and Rip Van Winkled the Samsung.
I was going to say
product release.
it's Tech Rip Van Winkle trying to drive you crazy too. It's like, wait, how many have I? Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll see what they have unpacked. I'm sure we're all very excited. Flo, I'm jealous that you get to go in person because I'll be watching from home, and I'm crossing my fingers. And we got to make the joke every time. I'm crossing my fingers for some sort of elaborate Broadway-esque performance.
Yeah.
So, in San Francisco.
Hey, give it a little bit of a Castro Mission vibe to it.
we're done with that.
Listen, y'all, I went to the opera in New York, and after going to opera at San Francisco, that's it. I'm spoiled.
Yep,
Anyway.
that's true.
Anyway.
All right. So that's going to wrap it up for hardware. And we're going to talk about, we got some app news, including some really frustrating, disappointing app news, but we'll get that in a moment. Because first, we're going to thank our second sponsor of the evening, because this episode of All About Android is brought to you by Cashfly. And listen, the whole world is moving to digital, and traffic patterns are spiking all over the place. You know this. We all know it. Viewers don't hang around for videos that buffer. Shoppers abandon carts on e-commerce sites that are slow. And gamers leave bad reviews when the latency is high. Lord, we know that. Be ready for those fluctuations with Cashfly. Expectations have risen, and customers expect a faultless experience when engaging with content on any device, anytime, anywhere in the world. A leader in CDN technology since 2002, CacheFly has held the track record for high-performing, ultra-reliable content delivery for 2 decades. CacheFly pioneered the use of TCP Anycast, an innovation that CDNs continue to build upon. And the quality of experience is the single most critical metric when serving content simultaneously to a large and distributed audience on a global scale. And your delivery stack can be your secret weapon. With CacheFly, you'll get ultra-low latency video streaming that will deliver video to more than 1 million concurrent users, lightning-fast gaming, which will deliver downloads faster with zero lag, glitches, or outages, mobile content optimization that offers automatic and simple image optimization so your site loads faster on any device, multi-CDN for redundancy and failover, which intelligently balances your traffic across multiple providers, giving you the shortest routes and mitigating against performance glitches. Plus, never pay for service overlap again. Get flexible month-to-month billing for as long as you need it and discounts for fixed terms once you're happy. Design your own contract when you switch to CacheFly. And you might ask yourself, how do we know all this? Because we've been using CacheFly for over 10 years, and we wouldn't have it any other way. With more than 3,500 clients in over 80 countries, organizations like us consistently choose CacheFly for scalability, reliability, and unrivaled performance. CacheFly is the only CDN built for throughput, delivering rich media content up to 10 times faster than traditional delivery methods and 30% faster than other major CDNs. Learn how you can get your first month free at cashfly.com. That's cashfly.com, and we thank them for being awesome, delivering our content, keeping everything moving speedy, and being a rock in the internet content delivery space for so long. So thank you, CacheFly. And with that, let's move on to apps. Alrighty. So I have a little moment in time for you both. Say what you will. I'm sure we all have our opinions about what's been going on over at Twitter over the past couple of months since Elon Musk took over. I'm not talking about Elon Musk. I'm not talking anything specific, but due to my job, due to our lives, stuff like that, you just can't, like I've been saying to everybody, like everyone's like, oh, they're going to go to Mastodon, they're going to go to Hive Social. I'm like, no, Twitter's not going anywhere. It's too, it's like, right. And so inevitably when I have downtime, I have my phone, I look at Facebook, I look at Twitter, I look at Google News, I do my whole kind of round. And the other night, I was just sitting there with my kids. They were watching some Sesame Street thing, and I'm like, let me look at Twitter real quickly. And I think actually I wanted to look what specifically someone was saying. So I opened up Talon, and I pulled it down to refresh the feed, and then I went to go search for what I was going to search for, and I got no results. I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I did another search, and I got no results. I'm like, that's weird. I went back to my feed, and I noticed it hadn't been updated for several hours. So I pulled it down again to refresh. No refresh, and I went, oh no, don't tell me that. And then I went over to the Talon Twitter account where the awesome Luke Klinker, who's the guy behind Talon, my Twitter app for years, had posted that, it seems as if API access for Talon has been cut off. And then he further adds in saying that it is not just us. It looks as if it's everybody else. And it looks like late last week, Twitter just turned off third-party apps and didn't say anything, and we haven't heard anything from them in regards to it. But as of now, Talon pretty much is useless, which is a huge bummer. And it's a huge bummer for anybody who uses anything else other than the main Twitter app. So to me, this is undefensible. I don't know, but what do you guys think? I mean, we shouldn't be surprised, I guess.
It's
right?
obviously a play for more revenue. I mean, he talked about this at the beginning, that the API costs Twitter a pretty penny, both in developers and in hosting. And he thinks that third-party developers should be paying for the privilege to be able to display the content that he now owns. Now, most of us would disagree with that, and I think it's terrible. And it's not just the apps to read and write on Twitter. My bot, the bot that I wrote several years ago and have been tweaking all this time to get rid of the most toxic Twitter users, that doesn't work anymore. That's now broken. So any of these homebrew solutions, they're also gone. And it's the only thing that makes sense is that he would like this to be a subscription service. This is Twitter Plus if you want to access it with an API, which will give you all this extra stuff. Or he might be rolling it into Twitter Blue. If you're Twitter Blue, you can access the API, no problem. and like you, I'm going to be riding Twitter into the ground, but I feel like this is getting it closer to the ground. There's already a couple of communities on Twitter that are ghost towns, and to kill the API, I don't see that helping that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being in this Android space for such a long time, I remember the days of where it was just very frustrating to try and make a third-party Twitter app because you only had like so many tokens and that sort of thing. And I remember the fight to increase that capability so we would have more third-party Twitter clients. And so this is just like, it feels like a really awful way to put an end to an era without even giving it a chance to like be memorialized, because for a lot of these people it was a lifeblood. Now they don't have it anymore.
And that's the thing is, and it's actually funny because I want to pull it up because ironically when I switched over to so at that point I needed to I was looking up someone for a reason. Right. I was 100% like going to use Twitter for a reason. And one of the, so I popped over to the Twitter app, which I do keep installed on my phone because, sometimes you just have both and that sort of thing. I'm like, all right, well, I need to get to Twitter. Let me see if I can get to Twitter. And in their stupid algorithm, that the Twitter, I find it fascinating how different the experience between the timeline experience of Talon versus the algorithm experience of the Twitter app is. But ironically, in their algorithm, one of the tweets of someone that I don't follow that bubbled up into my feed was Cory Doctorow, who I realized I don't follow, which I should follow because he's a good dude. But it was him complaining about how Twitter is burying mentions in the app, how you can't easily see replies, and it just like it further goes and shows, and I can't actually find the exact tweet where he's talking about it, but it further goes and shows that like whatever machinations or stuff that's going on either by Elon Musk or whoever else is at Twitter, because he's, say it was very easy to identify Musk as the problem and as the person who came in and changed everything, stuff like that, but like even despite the layoffs, there's still thousands of people that work there. They're not, there are people having product conversations before Elon came on board and after Elon came on board. And it's just, a lot of the decisions are just baffling. And I don't think that this continues to be a difficult thing. I would pay for Twitter Blue if you give me the edit button. Let me choose all these features. Let me use a third-party app, all this sort of stuff, because I happily pay for numerous monthly subscriptions of services I like. I still pay for Pushbullet because I support it, right? I do see value from what Twitter can be and would want to continue that value, but don't make decisions that affect me without either talking about it or justifying it or even explaining it, So I don't know. I'm babbling now, but that's kind of my thought.
No, but I mean, it makes sense if you really see that he's trying to drive Twitter Blue adoption. It's the same reason why on Twitter, on the web interface, you no longer have the option to see chronological. Remember, you could revert back to just show me what's happening as it's happening. Now it's grouped into for you and who you're following. And the reason why he's doing that is he wants to be able to downgrade, to push down anybody who's not Twitter Blue. Even within your own feed, he wants to make sure that the people you see first are the people who are paying for the service.
Yep.
And so I understand why he's doing it. He's doing it in a very ham-fisted way, and they're essentially doing live development rather than testing it out first before they deploy, which is terrible in any circumstance. But for us who have spent a lot of time and resources curating and developing our Twitter communities into something that's useful, you're right. It's incredibly frustrating.
Yep. So I don't know. It's a bummer because Talon was a great app. Luke Klinker is a great developer, and it's a huge bummer. Huge.
Oh, and by the way, delete my tweets no longer works.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh no, I really needed that.
There were a couple of services that use the API to wipe your account. That's gone. That's gone.
Well, think about all those tell you who's following you, who doesn't follow. Think about the entire
all gone
infrastructure that's been built around Twitter, and part of it was and maybe this is a carryover of a Web 2.0 thing. and this idea of the future of the internet and communities and all this sort of stuff. But like one of the great things was that Twitter was so open and was so like, hey, you know, here's the API, go hack at it, go build stuff out of it. And like, I hate to see that part of it go away, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
But again, that makes sense if Musk sees those third-party apps and says, you're just piggybacking on my property.
Yeah.
That's the new Twitter. It belongs to someone. It's not a community resource. It's somebody's property.
Yeah, it's a bummer. So pour one out. I hate to make Victor play the funeral music because I don't want it to be dead, but let's put it on life support. Don't play the funeral music yet. Like hopefully a solution presents itself and there becomes a way for Talon. I'm still keeping it on my phone. I'm not going to give up the ghost on it, but I hope someday it starts working.
It's okay. That version of Taps will take several years to finish. So
and I already know
it's
where
not quite dead. We
I already
don't
know where the button is. So.
Anyway, all right. So bummer on Talon. Flo, anything interesting going on in Google in the tablet space?
Anything interesting going on at Google? Boy, that's a loaded statement. Yeah, you know, the Google Discover. So Google Discover, which is the thing that lives on the left-hand side of your Android device, if you enable it, that is apparently getting a 3-column UI. And the speculation is that this is because of the upcoming Pixel tablet, but I will say that this looks very similar to the way that Chrome for mobile now works on Android devices. And actually not just Android devices. I think it might work the same on iOS. But basically, when your screen expands and it notices that it's a larger resolution, it'll give you more columns so that information is presented in a much more organized fashion. And it also just sort of like turns your tablet into a reader situation so that you're like tapping around thumbnails of headlines instead of just like going through things piecemeal. So I'm of course just excited for anything that means Android is going to be considered for the tablet because it's about time.
I would like to see them develop this technology and expand it to just the regular phones. Like, for example, this is not my daily driver. This is a POS, but I'm using it. This isn't like an LG NV2. I think they actually just gave them away. But if I hook this up to the same USB-C dock that I use for my laptop, it will display on the big screen that I have for my my laptop. If they would add that feature so that it would 3-column the screen to fill up the 16:9, I would absolutely love that. I mean, that would make it usable versus what it is right now, which is I have to turn it sideways and get a super expanded Android screen. So do you hear any indications that maybe this might be for more than just Android tablets?
Yes, I do think that this is, well, okay, so they're updating the Google app with this ability, and the change is rolling out to existing tablets, including Samsung's Tab S8.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think it'll just depend on an update through the Play Store at this point.
Right.
And they already made that ability in Chrome for mobile.
That looks really good, actually. Okay, I'm vibing with it.
It's taking everything we know about responsive web design and applying it, you know, in this space about like, okay, you have a device that has this width, so therefore move from 1 column to 2 column to 3 column, right? So like that's pretty cool. So.
Which
and
we now know is
like
much harder
Android.
than it used to be. I'm sorry?
Yes, yeah.
Sorry about that. I was going to say, and this is why I like Android a little more than iPad OS in some instances, because they're actually figuring out this way that you can, you know.
Okay. I'm down. Oh, all right. You've convinced me. I'm going to get a tablet again. I haven't had an Android tablet probably for about 8 years.
Just don't buy a cheap one.
No.
I mean, Father Robert, I have the Lenovo one. Which one is that I love?
The P10? You have the P10?
No, the M10. The M10.
Okay, that's the entry level one. Yeah.
Oh no, the P11. I'm sorry, the P11.
I know some of the Huawei ones look really, really good.
You know, you don't have any Play Store on it.
Oh, never mind. No.
I have the P11, the Lenovo Tab P11, and it sells for like $330, $350 right now, and it's a solid tablet. I really like it. So.
Okay, yeah, actually, let's do this. So, diving back into the market, between the two of you, which is the tablet I should get?
The Lenovo P11.
Okay.
Or wait for the Chrome one, or wait for the Google one.
Flow.
Yeah, or wait for the Pixel tablet. I would actually
Yeah.
suggest you go for a Samsung tablet instead, but
Really?
I like their Tab S's. They're good.
Okay.
Also, there was, what was it? I know the chat room's going to yell at me and correct me, but there was also the really, was it the Lenovo Duet? What was the really cheap?
The M10.
convertible-
That was the M10.
Was it the M10? There was like a cheaper tablet that is like if I didn't get the P11, I would have gotten that one, and it would, and I forget, it might be the M10. I forget the exact model, but it was something. It was like, or the IdeaPad. No, I don't know.
Oh,
I gotta
that's
look
not
it up.
bad.
But,
That's like
but there was something that we were talking
$130,
about. Where like, oh, it's like a $200 option. That's really cool.
All right. Okay. Tab M10 HD.
Yeah.
I will do that.
Yeah, but it functions like $100 tablet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. Oh darn. Well, you know what? Maybe I should replace my phone first. How about? How about that?
Maybe start there.
I will upgrade to a OnePlus 6. I think.
Yep.
I think I'll start with that because that's only a.
Why don't you just
4-year-old
go
phone.
get yourself a Pixel 7, get it on sale. It'll be like $300.
You know, okay.
After some trade-ins and stuff.
This is a Vatican thing. It really is. If I'm walking around with a brand new phone, everyone will notice, and they'll say, "Oh,
That's
and not in a good way.
That's more of a Father Robert problem. I
That's
think,
a Father
than
Robert.
Yeah.
This is a Father
exactly,
Robert problem. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, so that'll wrap it up for apps, and which brings us to my favorite time of the week when we hear from our good friend J.R. Raphael, who's got a tip of the week for us, his Android intelligence tip. And Flo, it's almost like he knew you were going to be on the show because this week he's tipping all about Wear OS. So, J.R., what do you got for us?
Hey gang, so all right, today's tip is for the Wear OS wearers among us. I've been wearing the Pixel Watch since more or less when that thing came out late last year, and all in all, I've really been digging it. But there's one part of the experience that could definitely stand to be a teensy bit better, and that is the calendar. As it stands now, the built-in calendar tile that comes with Wear OS is let's say a little lackluster. It's just a simple look at the next event on your agenda. That's it. No option for a more info-dense view right there on the main tile. No ability to actually edit or interact with the info in any way. Now look, don't get me wrong. It's fine. It's functional, but yeah, we can do better. And in a good twist of timing, my all-time favorite Android calendar app just got a nice little upgrade that gives us exactly what we need to make that happen. The app is called Business Calendar 2 Planner. Yeah, just a little bit of a mouthful. How about we call it Business Calendar for short? If you haven't heard of it, Business Calendar is an awesome little upgrade from the standard calendar setup on Android phones and on Chromebooks too. And this week, it's in the midst of bringing the same spectacular take on the Android calendar experience into the Wear OS environment. Once you get the app on your watch, you'll see options for not one, but 2 new calendar tiles that you can bring into your sideways swiping smartwatch mix. The first is a new calendar agenda tile that's way more useful than that stock Wear OS calendar tile we were looking at a second ago. Shows you a bunch of upcoming events at a single glance, and it's fully interactive too. You can tap any event within it to open the event up in a nicely designed full screen interface. From there, you can see all that event's details and access one-tap options for rescheduling or deleting the thing right then and there. Let's see, what else? The tile's got a handy little button at its bottom edge that lets you pull up an infinite scrolling view of your entire calendar agenda. Oh, and that same view also gives you some simple one-tap options for adding new events into your calendar, all via super intuitive plain English voice commands. If all of that's not enough, the same single tile gives you the option to switch yourself over to a fully interactive monthly view of your calendar too, just in case you ever need to zoom out and gain some broader perspective. And then there's the second edition, a more narrowly focused next event tile for your Pixel Watch or other Wear OS gadget. That one, as the name suggests, shows you only the info for the very next event on your agenda. But unlike Google's built-in Wear OS equivalent, this one lets you tap on that next event to zip over to a fully featured info viewing and editing screen, just like we saw in that other view a second ago. And it's also got one-tap buttons for switching over to your full agenda view, or that monthly setup too. All in all, it's one heck of a nice upgrade for the Pixel Watch or whatever other Wear OS watch you might be using. And once you get the app installed, it'll take you like 20 seconds to get the whole thing set up. Business Calendar's free to use with an optional $7 Pro upgrade that eliminates some ads from the app's phone interface and unlocks a handful of advanced features. The app automatically syncs with Google Calendar, Outlook Calendar, whatever calendar you've got hooked up and present on your phone. There's really nothing to it. We'll toss a link into the show notes for you. And hey, remember, you can get top-notch tips like this in your inbox every week by signing up for my Android Intelligence newsletter. 3 new things to try every Friday, and yeah, it's completely free for you. Just head over to androidintel.net/twit to get in on the goodies and get your first issue this minute. That site again is androidintel.net/twit. Hope to see you there, and I will absolutely see you back here next week.
All right. Well, thank you, JR. And so, Flo, you are a resident Wear OS user. Have you heard of this app before?
Yes, I think I brought it into the arena once, way back in the day.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So are you actively using it on your
too.
Pixel Watch?
I'm not using the Pixel Watch. I'm using the Galaxy Watch 4. And now I'm going to have to install it back so I can use this new feature. I appreciate JR because I actually didn't know that was getting an update that was significant enough for me to like pay attention to on Wear OS. So thank you, JR.
All right. Always handy with his tips. You can check out more of JR's tips over at Android Intelligence. We thank him for sending them in on a weekly basis. And with that, it's time to hear from you, the All About Android community. You can always email us at AAA@twit.tv. That's AAA@twit.tv. Or call us in with a voicemail at 347-SHOW-AAA. Or you can email a voicemail or a video mail or whatever. But a lot of you like to write. We got a lot of good ones this week. So, Flo, you got the first one. Why don't you take it away?
Excuse me. This one is exciting because this one is good for anybody who's going to Chicago soon to do tourism. This comes from Joe from Chicago. I've been a fan for years and enjoy watching you guys every week. Last week on episode 611, you guys were talking about Magic Eraser, and I wanted to share a pic I took of downtown Chicago over the summer. I attached the before and after, which I think turned out great. This location, out by the planetarium, is my favorite view of the city, especially as the city is backlit by sunset and the lights start coming on. Luckily, no chain link blocking the view. Because you can't remove that. Joe from Chicago. All right, let's look at his before.
All right.
Wow.
Ooh, okay.
I miss Chicago.
Oh, okay. I see it. I see that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I like it way better with the people gone. No offense, people.
It's true. So for our audio listeners, it's a wonderful view of the Chicago skyline. I got to assume on the lake, and the before picture has some people sitting on the grass in front of the lake, and the after they magically disappear. So.
You know, I realize that one of my big regrets from the pandemic is not taking the opportunity to take photos and videos of all the empty spots around Rome, because that will never happen again.
Well, you can take them if you get a Pixel phone. You could take just a photo when you go back and just use Magic Eraser and make them empty again. So there it is. As long as there's no chain link fence. So.
Oh, that's right. It doesn't like chain link. It doesn't know what to do that. I have an Android puppy right now. This is Burke. I'm trying to
ignore that Burke involved distraction as we do a show.
Yes.
But,
yes.
All right, so let's move on to our second email, which comes in from Dave from Down Under in Adelaide, Australia, reacting to the two-factor authentication conversation we've been having for the past couple of weeks. And Dave says, after seeing episode 612's email of the week and discussing around two-factor authentication apps, I thought I'd throw an option I've recently found and am now using, the free and open source Authenticator Pro, which is available in the Google Play Store. Particularly if backup security is a concern, you can choose to encrypt and backup locally only to another device or into your cloud storage of choice, and supports import and export of individual tokens. One of the really nice bonus features is that it also has a Wear OS app, so I can have it installed on my Pixel Watch for quick access to my codes. Absolutely love your work, team. It's become my Wednesday night ritual to download and watch All About Android here Down Under. Keep up the awesome work. And thank you, Dave. We appreciate you watching and enjoying us, and appreciate the tip. And and it's basically the two-factor authentication conversation continues and is fascinating. In terms of, you always want to make sure you have it turned on, and especially if you're using an app like Google Authenticator, be mindful of where your backup codes are. If you're using one like Authy, where they're being stored on the cloud, or something like this with Authenticator Pro, it's super nice to have those options out there. So thanks, Dave, for writing in and adding to the conversation. We appreciate it.
Let me ask you too about that, actually. So when you do your second factor authentication and you get your backup codes, because you have to store those in case you lose the device, how do you store your backup codes?
I'm not going to reveal on the show, Father Robert. Jesus.
Give me a hypothetical. Someone like you, where would he keep it?
Hypothetically, you could manually print them and put them in a fireproof safe in your house with all the other important documents. Hypothetically,
not all of us have a catacombs under our house, Padre. To hide stuff.
I would like an authenticator that would let me authenticate two devices at the same time, so I could keep a device in a drawer, like an old phone, just in case. Because those backup codes are always the point of failure for me, because they have to be someplace that I can read them.
Well, so that's why it's Authy. A lot of folks were saying Authy is a good option because it is storing them somewhere, and that's also where you can go from there. So, and actually, we got a tweet from somebody posted on Twitter about this topic, Panzer_Z. So whoever you are. But he says a feature that might help ease your worries about backups to Authy is you can choose to manually sync new devices, meaning no random can add a device to your account. I have this turned on and only allows syncing when I'm adding a new device, which I then turn off once added. And another 2FA app option that people forget about is Microsoft Authenticator. It allows cloud backup and recovery as long as you have a Microsoft account or an iCloud account. So lots of options out there. But all right. With that, Flo, take us away.
Oh, look at that. This week I get to read the email of the week. Thank you to the TD. This one comes from Benjamin. I am what most people may call an enthusiast for ThinkPad laptops. I think they are hands down the best laptops you can buy. As a GNU/Linux user, I really appreciate that Lenovo works with Canonical and Fedora to ensure all their ThinkPad laptops will be fully supported by the Linux kernel, and they even sell most of their laptops with an option to have Fedora or Ubuntu from the factory. I am a Fedora user, so when I ordered my current ThinkPad X1 Carbon, I selected it as the OS it's shipped with. Excuse me. I could list off reasons to love the ThinkPads all day, so when I saw the Moto ThinkPhone, it was very intriguing. It is just unfortunate that the phone is being made by Moto. Jeez. They have a terrible track record with updating their phones and allowing their users to flash their own versions of Android once support has ended. Oftentimes, Moto phones are lucky to get a single major Android version update, and that is really unfortunate. I would be interested in purchasing a ThinkPhone in the future if Moto is able to show that they care about customers and support the devices. Until then, I will just stick with Pixel phones. Benjamin.
Oh, burn.
Yeah. Wow. Now, I would like to respond to this, if I may.
Sure. That's why you're
here. Which is that, Benjamin, you have can I call you Ben? I don't want to assume, actually. I'm not going to do that. But Benjamin, I feel where you're coming from, and I did ask when I saw the ThinkPhone at CES what the update cycle was going to be like, and I was told that it would have nearly the same update cycle as the current Samsung and Google phones, which is 4 years of security updates and 3 years of software version updates. My understanding is that because the ThinkPhone is going to be very enterprise focused, so kind of like they're going to focus on selling this in bundles so that they can be deployed amongst companies of certain sizes, that this is something that will be a bit better managed than the current crop of Motorola consumer devices. Not to mention that Lenovo has a big, they already manufacture the Motorola phones, but they have a bit of a stake in this because of the branding that goes behind this sort of like business-centric phone. But I do agree that it is a very exciting, very intriguing phone. I really liked the hardware in person. was the most solid I felt a Moto phone in a while. But I will say that some of the tricks that it does, they're just fine-tuned software tricks that already exist on some of the Motorola Ready for applications that you can install on Windows. So maybe in that sense, there is a bit of worry to be had because it will be, we don't know if it's Motorola or Lenovo sort of driving this, I think is what I'm trying to say. So I think Benjamin is going to stick with the Pixel.
Which is fair.
Seven
which is a fair
generations of
opinion.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the phone was compelling also, and it also, Flo, it begged the question, why did it take this long?
It's a beefy phone.
Right, true. Yeah. So
yeah. It's
I could
like
see,
a beefy.
I could see Lenovo not wanting just to release another phone to fill up the Moto name. So they were looking for a niche. And actually, an enterprise niche is not bad because that's a built-in user base that is not just hardware, but services. So, yeah, I could see that targeting.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well,
all right,
Benjamin.
Well, there you have it, Benjamin.
For writing in.
Yeah, and getting the email
push
the week. There it is.
I lost
all
the
right,
button for a second. Sorry.
Well, that's going to bring us home to this Jason and Winless episode, but we got a Padre and a Flo, so that's all good. So Padre, why don't you tell folks where they can find you when you're not on All About Android twice a year?
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, you're going to be able to find what I'm doing on Twitter, twitter.com/PadreSJ. I'm keeping my account there. As I told you, I'm going to be writing that thing right into the ground. Although I am also on Mastodon at PadreSJ, twit.social. So you can follow me anywhere if you want to find out what I'm up to. Now, the project specifically that I've been working on is something called JesuitPilgrimage.app. It's something that my office has been working on. It's available in both Android and iOS. It doesn't cost anything. It's just a nice way to give people a view of Rome, of the life of St. Ignatius, who was the founder of my order. And it also gives me a platform to continue developing. So the more people who download, the more people who enjoy it, the more they'll let me work on stuff like this. So again, that's JesuitPilgrimage.app. Go ahead, download it, please. Do it. No, seriously, do it now. No, like right after the show. Just go ahead and do it. Yeah.
I'm going to go do it right now.
Oh, thanks. And yes, it's responsive, so it will work on both your phones and your tablets.
Bless you.
Yeah. We go 3-column for the tablets.
All right. Well, it's always good to have you back in studio, Padre. It's good to see you.
It's great to see you.
Flo, where can folks find your great work?
Well, y'all know that I'm over at gizmodo.com. I didn't put my vanity URL in the doc, but it is flowrights.tech, which will take you over to my byline feed over at Gizmodo. And if you need to find me on social media, I am at OhThatFlow. And I've actually been using TikTok way more than I have Twitter. I've decided that this year I'm going to really invest in it because the community there is kind of fun if you can stay off the bad sides of it. So we're going to give it a test this year. So if you're on there, please do follow. I do post about Android and techie things over there, in addition to all this crap that's in my room, which they're collectors stuff. They're not crap. Also,
you're feeding the Chinese government a lot of great information.
But she's got Sailor Moon in the background. Sailor Moon protects everyone.
Also, Sailor Moon is Japanese.
Wow.
Also, if you'd like to listen to me weekly, I do a podcast over on the Relay FM network with Andy and Not Co. called Material. We do a podcast all about Google, and that's the podcast to listen to if you'd like your weekly dose of Google news from me. So thank you for having me here, folks.
Oh,
thank you, Flo, and myself. If you dig all this nonsense, you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at RonXO. I'm also on Mastodon at RonXO. You can find me everywhere. I'm on TikTok at RonXO. I'm all over the place. And if you're into pinball, go check out Scorebit in the Google Play Store. It's a great mobile app that me and my friends have developed that lets you keep track of your pinball scores and connect with friends, stuff like that. And we've also at scorebit.io, we've got hardware that goes inside pinball machines to make it automatically keep track of scores. So check all that out at scorebit.io. And Victor, thank you for filling in for Burke this week. We appreciate it.
No problem.
You're the best. We love you.
was a little shaky at the top.
You did great.
It was okay.
You did great. We can fix it in post. It's all good. So
True.
Right. And you, the listener, we want to thank you so much for listening to or watching All About Android week in and week out. And don't forget, you don't want to miss out on the best, most exclusive area for fans of tech, and that's it's Club Twit, which is our ad-free subscription tier. You can get all the great Twit shows with no ads, and also get an exclusive Twit Plus podcast feed with tons of extra content and a members-only Discord. And you get all this for just $7 a month, or you can pay for the full year, $84 a month. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit for more. And you definitely want to jump on board this. This is awesome. It's the way to show your support to the Twit network and get a ton of great extra content and interact with the rest of the community over there on Discord. Tons of fun. So go join Club Twit if you haven't already. And that's going to wrap it up for this week. All About Android comes out every Tuesday evening. We're live, recorded live around 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, and then you could listen to it and subscribe at twit.tv/AAA and listen on whatever your podcast catcher of choice. And as always, as mentioned, you can get in touch with us. You can email us at AAA@twit.tv or call and leave a voicemail 347-SHOW-AAA. That's going to wrap it up for this week. Jason will be back next week. I think Win will be back next week. I will be here next week. We got more Android to talk about, so make sure you tune in. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I am the host of Hands On Photography here on Twit TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.